Good morning, good evening, and good night, wherever you are. Welcome to Requiem for Mersea. And we start our first scene with two individuals who are fleeing the chaos, the mayhem of London. They are both journeying towards the safety and sanctuary of Mersea Island. And I will let them take it away. We'll start with uh, Ben.
One individual is driving a car right now. His focus is on the road. Well, he's trying to focus on the road. A lot of thoughts are going through his head right now, but he's finding it hard to concentrate. Very, very hard to concentrate. There is a noise he keeps hearing just over and over again. And he is familiar with that sound. The sound is coming from the passenger in the back seat, although she probably isn't giving it much thought. Most humans don't give it too much thought. But to this man in particular, right now, it is a great distraction. Something is welling up from deep inside of himself, something that he had thought to bury, something that he had hoped would not be cropping up so soon. For there is a journey to be had right now, and he has been tasked by a very powerful individual to see this human safely brought to Mersea Island. It is his ticket into the island. And if anything were to happen to this individual, well, it would not only bring great danger to his friends and covenant mates, but also to himself. For he knows who this individual is. Not more than several hours ago, he stood in a tall building overlooking the city of London. The man stood with his back turned to him, but with his eyes firmly upon him, in a way that only a very old predator can do. But he didn't say much, but he made it clear what would happen if anything happened to his precious, shall we say. With the weight of both his covenant on his shoulders and fear of this monster's gaze, he tries desperately to focus on the road, but it is very, very difficult. Only once does he lose sight as the lights of the cars going to and fro amongst the nightly routine of the people of London. He feels it creeping out into his features. He has to correct himself. The car jolts as he realizes that his hands have developed claws, fingernails, extending and twisting. He catches a sight of himself in the mirror and he sees a glint of red before he closes them and tries to focus on the road, but noise. It is so very hard to ignore the noise. As for that person who might have been sort of startled awake by the sudden car jolt, what is she thinking right now?
Grace, having been startled awake by the sudden jolt, just collects herself a tiny bit. She was dozing. She was just not so much sleeping, but there's that heaviness behind her eyes. She's been traveling a long time and she doesn't really have the stamina for it, not like the person who she's been entrusted to, one would say. That moment when you close your eyes just to rest them and then wake up 2 hours later, that moment of how long has it been? Where are we? And she begins to yawn and then quickly covers her mouth with her hand as to appear a bit more dainty rather than careless, and shuffles back upwards in her seat, presses her shoulders firmly against the seat from where she'd slumped forward, and quickly flips the mirror down of the sunshade and just checks that she's still in good order. Nothing's running, her hair's not a mess. Always must appear flawless. Always must appear flawless. Quickly she shuts the mirror and flips the sun visor back up, casts a sidelong glance to her driver, I suppose one would say. Previously, before she'd closed her eyes to doze, she was enraptured in a memory of their parting, her parting, and his. Ah, how she'll miss him. But he knows best. And so she sighs inwardly, longingly looking out of the windows, desperate for the car to turn around, but no, he knows best. Perhaps this is another test in any case, so she best not disappoint. Their last night together, absolute magic. She can still taste him on her lips, that sweet, sweet vitae roiling inside of her like a caterpillar in its cocoon. She knows that he's not far away. She can still feel him in her. That delicious memory wiped from her mind at the jolt of the car, that pleasant dream perhaps, and she unfolds her hands, places them on her lap quite timidly, and then casts that sidelong glance to her driver and asks, "Would you like me to drive for a while?"
There's no response. The driver just continues to drive, eyes focused on the road. It actually seems quite rude of him.
There's no response, then she won't say anything further, but simply watch the road, also scanning the sides for any wildlife that might startle and come out of the hedgerows and whatnot. She's not going to drive, at least she'll be alert.
In truth, he didn't hear her. In fact, he can't hear anything over the sound of the noise, the heartbeat. It fills every space within his head, that vast hollowness, that vast darkness where the creature lurks and coils, like a vast, dark ocean. Something he is familiar with, for in his dreams, when the cruel sun hangs overhead, he has dreamed of the ocean, of its waves pulling him further and further out away from London, as the great winged thing that surfs above the spray towards the island. It has been on his mind constantly, haunting his nightly hours as much as his tormented day sleep. But all of that is beginning to become meaningless next to thirst. You can almost hear blood circulate with the person in the back seat. He's now gripping the steering wheel even harder. And yes, you can roll if you'd like.
I would like to roll.
Yep.
I would like to roll to notice this.
Oh, no penalty at all. Good old poker, I'd say.
I will need you to roll for me because for dice stream and stuff, so I'm going to say
I can roll for that.
What would you want?
So, what's this regarding?
Just wanting to roll to notice old mate freaking out.
Okay. Ben, would your character be somewhat changing as well? Just to.
Yes, in fact, you'll probably get.
There will be a bonus to this. So this would be we'll say, wits and empathy roll, but you will gain +2 to the dice roll because it's so odd what's happened to it. You can only see him from the back though, but even with that, it's quite obvious. So how many dice would that be? Wits and empathy +2.
What's an empathy +2? Would be 6 dice.
I'm not going to put any penalties on that because I think it's such an obvious thing. So that's an automatic success you may have if you wish.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to roll it, but I do want to look for something specific, if that's all right. I have a specialization in compassion, which I don't think comes into it just yet. I want to know, being that Grace has been in servitude to Kindred for a while, she wants to know how close he is to flipping the fuck out. Like, should she just sit still and try to not be a target, or is there some playroom right now? When I say playroom, I mean, can we pull over and get this guy a deer?
No, I'll say for every success you get beyond the first, you gain extra information.
All right. Could somebody roll me 6 dice, please?
Yeah, I'll... Oh, Ben taking the lead on that one.
Right,
Is that a failure?
1, I think. So, unfortunately, you just know something is up. Something is strange. The way Ben sort of holds the steering wheel very tensely. He's not talking. Every time you kind of look towards him or get close to him, you just get this vibe that something's not right. That he seems very focused on something else.
In which case, Grace is going to err on the side of caution and just be quiet, sit still, and not do anything. She can't help the fact that her heart is beating, but it obviously annoys him, and she wishes she could stop it. But that's not the case.
If this goes on, sorry, Ben. If this goes on a bit further, there'll be a test needed from you, Ben.
Quick question though: are they still in the city right now?
You're in the city, but if you continue onward, there'll be one test, and then there'll be another test if you pass that test, and so forth. But it's a gradual thing. We'll see how it goes for now. So far, you're okay.
I think it's getting to the point where he realizes that something must be done, so I think he's going to, he's like in an intersection or driving past an alleyway. He'll probably use Auspex in desperation to see if he can spot an easy mark, just something that he can just, get it here suggested.
Okay, we'll do the first test now because there's a nice meal in the cab, which your beast consents. So we'll do the first test now because you are very hungry and your beast does not care where it comes from, as long as it comes from somewhere. So this will be your resolve plus composure, but because of your hunger and your starving 2 or fewer, you -4 to the dice roll.
And that is exactly what my dice pool is going to be, so tense dice. However, Samuel, because he knows what will happen if he flips out, is going to spend willpower to resist.
I just double checking, but yeah, I'm sure you can spend willpower to resist frenzy. So yes, we'll convert the show suggested storytelling coach rates. For example, no, that's fine. Yes, you may spend a willpower point to resist that.
Before I roll this, I'd like to get a bit of perspective as to the changes that is slowly coming into the drive.
Fair enough.
Chris to witness. When you first met him, he really did not say much, but he seemed polite enough. He was respectful of you, opened the door for you, seemed to be one of the types who would be a calculator. You've probably met those types of people before. Like before, you could tell that something must have happened to him recently. He was not in the best of shape, and a keen eye would see that several parts of the clothes looked like they were ripped or like he was in some sort of scuffle that happened earlier. But he bore no physical wounds upon his face. But the more the drive continues, the more sort of introvert and into himself he gets, to the point where now you actually see it's becoming more physical. Like as he grips the steering wheel, you see that his normal fingernails have extended into almost claws, twisted and malformed. His eyes, there's a glint of red every so often. Or those could just be the tail lights of the cars that are going by, reflected in the mirrors or however it is. His face does look very shallow and pale, though. Perhaps it's just the lighting also, casting stark reflection upon it. But now, oh, sweet God. That's 2 successes, David.
Okay, yeah, you managed to hold yourself together for a period of time. We'll say up to an hour. Then you'll need to roll again.
Okay, but before that, would you mind if I was to use Auspex to see if I can find a deer nearby? Since I or bird on the street.
It's a weird one, that, because it's sort of we'll say. Hold on, I'm just looking up all specs. I'm not used this in a while. I just remember it.
Yes, the first one is you just get a simple question. It's like
beast. All specs, beast hackers, beast hackers. It is wits, empathy, and all specs. The caster. Sensitive things to other people's cannot normally perceive. The player can ask one question to the storyteller, and the answer should include an imaginary conjuring of the beast. So you're asking about the area. You're asking about food.
Is there an easy mark nearby? I need something. I need anything. Because I can't kill this person.
I'm going to say
hair from her to be removed, or else I would wish that I was dead because of what this person will do if he
I'm going to make the dice. Oh no, it costs 1 vitae to use.
Wait, no, the first time.
The cost varies. Oh, the first time. Sorry, yes, the first time is free. So yes, you do get that. Okay, it's wits, empathy, and all specs. But I'm going to replace a bit of it, and I'm going to say wits, survival plus all specs. So I think that's what you're really keen in there. You're really trying to sort of find some food.
Survival, all specs, 5 dice. Yes, at least one.
So we'll describe that as you're just sort of coming out of London. Some time goes by. You're desperately veering the vehicle. And actually that's what's focusing you. Just focusing on the car, the traffic, the left, the right turns. But yes, you ask your beast, like, is there food? There must be food somewhere. God damn it, where's some food? I need food. And you do sense that suddenly your Auspex gives you an image of a sign, a food place, a fast food place, a service depot, a place to rest, a place to go, and the bright light of, we'll say, McDonald's is shining very, very bright, very, very prominent to you. And as if your beast is saying, yes, there's something there, there's a person there, food there, fast food for you.
And with that, the car begins to pull over towards the McDonald's. Like, if he had enough willpower left right now, he would say, rest off, go to the bathroom now if you need to. But he doesn't. He just pulls over, gets out quietly, and almost like that, as he does, he just sort of blends into the environment.
I think I'm going to add more drama to it. I'm going to actually say that you pull the car over, and there's just a lone person that is by a sort of a street light or car park light looking at her phone, and she's just below the sign. She's below the fast food sign, the quick bite to eat, McDonald's, £3 only for a family meal, and she's just sort of sat beneath that sign. This woman, this lone female woman that's sat just below the sign, who seems to be unaware of your presence at the moment.
That also helps because he's using X1 right now, so again, like to her, just another person getting up and walking into McDonald's. And that would be sort of the case until she feels the hand go around her mouth, and then the kiss activates. He just, no pretense, no nothing, just effectively jumps her. And Grace, you can see it.
Okay, we'll just do a quick roll, and then we'll go to Blue for your character's point of view. So we'll see how well you do this, Ben. This will be funny. So it's we'll say you're blatantly just jumping her and going at her. So we'll say. So
not going to be.
So yeah, you will say your strength plus brawl, and because of your because you're attacking from the rear, you're surprising this person. They won't apply their defense. And if you use obfuscate, you can plus your obfuscate to the dice roll as well.
Okay, he doesn't have any brawl, so it's going to be just one dice, but again, the surprise will go for opposites, so that'll be two.
Okay.
Would it be alright for him to use his stealth roll in order to help him get the proper
Uh, you you're not really being stealthy. You're literally jumping. I think because of your hunger,
It's mostly the obfuscate that he's relying on.
it's mostly the obfuscate you're relying on. But I think due to your hunger, you're just jumping this person. You're not really thinking too much about being stealthy about it. You're literally just jumping on this person. So we'll
Would
see
you
how it goes.
spend willpower on this as well, or have I just done that for the
You
one?
may spend another willpower point as well. You are using a lot so far, so you may do that. Yeah.
Alright, so that's 2 plus 3, so that's 5. Oh, please give me something.
Yeah, you have to roll. We'll say you definitely have to roll because it's a lot. Oh, just barely. Yeah, you just managed to like jump and feed. And yes, if you go beyond 4 to 3 blood points, this person needs medical aid basically to get blood.
Okay, let's
Ah,
see. At this point, he has enough.
I mean, you are very hungry. I might need to make it a roll for you to stop
Um,
feeding.
or he did succeed in resisting frenzy.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, I'll allow it. Yeah, that's fine. You can.
He's not going to be like, he's going to stop at the bare minimum. He's going for 4 retail in this instance.
Okay, that's fine. So we'll go to Blue. And your character's witnessing this whole. I mean, Ben, if you want to describe how your character pounces, I don't know.
So it's
But yeah.
very, like, he leaves, and then it looks almost, you could have swore that he was almost going inside. And so, you just go back to, maybe just looking at the road, maybe looking off. It is, again, a very cloying sort of night. You can see fog roll in and out on occasion. Like there's maybe a sound off in the distance, or another car goes by and that attracts your attention. Then all of a sudden you feel like a very muffled noise, and then you'll just turn and see that the driver is just behind her with a clawed hand sort of over her mouth, and then a truly corpse-like face with these horribly like malformed teeth and just glowing red eyes. Just again, just it goes in for the feed. Thank you, David.
Sorry,
And
I just need to
yeah,
get that then.
thing happened before, and it's just blatant. It's fast, and you get the instance or the instinctive feeling that very easily that could have been you if he did not have enough proper self-control. But again, he afterwards, like as soon as he's done feeding, like the effects immediately begin to reverse. His teeth begin to go back into normalcy. His eyes become normal, human again. His face almost becomes flush with life again. His malformed, like fingernails return back to semblance of normalcy. Again, he's just a normal individual again. He licks a wound, just sort of leaves the person slumped down, sitting just underneath the McDonald's side, straightens his evening coat, and then very calmly walks back to the car, gets inside, and then now having enough like sense, we'll just say sorry about that. Back on our way now, and then we'll put the car back into drive, and then move back onto the road very off side.
Okay, okay. So, Blue, your thoughts as you witness and see these events.
Grace has she's been brought up within the Invicta circles of the Ventrue. She's not accustomed perhaps to the beast so very close, not so manifested physically. So for initially in witnessing the spectacle, she would be a bit eyes wide and more interested than anything, more interested than horrified, but certainly there's a tinge of fear, especially when, as you say, the realization comes over her that potentially the meal that is now crumpled on the sidewalk could have been her, shoved in the boot. But by the same token, who is she to judge? No one. She's just simply a passenger. She is here because she needs to be here, and she needs to remind herself of that every single moment of every single breath that she takes, that she has a function, every instance that she is alive and in the presence of anyone, including herself, she has a function. And so she puts a stone-faced look back on her face, but not an unkind one, more neutral. And as Samuel gets back into the vehicle and apologizes, um, she will actually just give him a kind smile and say, "Are you feeling better?"
He'll be a bit surprised by that before just nodding his head and saying, I am, and I apologize for my rudeness earlier. This night has not exactly gone as I had intended, but that is just an excuse. Here, let me continue back to the task at hand. I have a place to take you this evening, and if we are late, then that shall look poorly upon myself. Again, you heard this all before. He's giving like due respect to you, probably even beyond what he normally would be to a mortal. But he knows who you are. He knows that you are not just any human. It's very much the same way that he would try to like talk to one of his own kind. But then again, you're sort of used to that at this point.
Again, at the apology, Grace just gives you a very kind smile, actually. She'll break the neutrality of the face that she's put on and just sort of shake her head and smile. And she doesn't need to say anything because it's written plain as day on those beautiful, deep sea green eyes of hers of, you don't need to apologize, I understand. And then she'll just say, if you would like me to drive, I have been trained.
He thinks about it for a minute, then before nodding and saying, "Very well." It's like, "I'll keep an eye on the road. That way, if anything else happens, I should give us proper forewarning." With that, he'll sort of just drive along to the side of the road. Again, he'll hold the door open for you as you get out and go to the passenger side, where he will proceed to just look at the road and the surrounding wilderness.
Mhm. And pleases and thank yous, probably more than you ever used to from somebody who is within the circles that she's in. I mean, it's odd because both of these characters are playing the let's be polite, let's be very, very polite game. And it's awkward, but it's also the dance that they have to do to gauge each other at this point. And on Grace's part as well, she doesn't know who you are, to be honest. All she knows that is that this person will be taking you to safety at the behest of her master. So surely you must be someone, otherwise she wouldn't be trusted with you. And to that end, she's considering that who you are portraying yourself to be perhaps is not exactly who it is that you are. So she's on edge, but she's not uncomfortable, if that makes any sense. She's certainly looking at how you're behaving and who you are purporting to be and how at ease you are with yourself, because that does tell you a lot about a kindred. But by the same token, she's careful about what she says and how she moves, and always quick for a thank you and a please, just to make sure that should you end up being somebody of a higher rank, she doesn't embarrass herself or give you any disrespect, because that then can come back on her master, because she is a reflection, she is like a shadow of his, and whatever she does can end up in the bad books for him. We can't have that. No, no, we cannot have that. But she will drive, and she will drive quite well. As said, very much a chauffeur type etiquette. Doesn't speed, always stays on the right side of the road, indicates when she's meant to, so on and so forth. And possibly even after about half an hour or so, will say, do you mind if I put some music on?
He will say, of course, he doesn't mind. He isn't part of a lot of the music that they have out now, but perhaps the radio will surprise him. It does on occasion.
She'll look for a classical music radio station, just something soothing in the background. She doesn't know quite how over your hunger you really are. She has no ways of gauging that, but you don't appear to be attacking her or wanting to attack her at the moment, so we'll just go with that.
Indeed. And so, to the background noise of some classical instruments, sort of blurred shadow of the first and second stage make their way down into the dark country, of course. And I do believe I can speak for the S2 when I say that it gets very dark indeed. All the vestiges of civilization seem to fall away until they are really only illuminated by the lights of the car and the ever so often other car passing by, just a set of headlights approaching in the distance, followed by a brief moment of squinting and then passing along the road with only a red glow as they're passing. This is how they continue, but again, after about an hour, I'd say, Samuel begins to get distracted again, but he never really says anything. His beast's hackles are standing on edge. Now that it is sated, it is interested in preserving its life, and by consequence, Samuel's life as well. You'll see his eyes dart back and forth throughout the night, as though trying to see something, maybe even seeing something, but what it is, only he can say, and what he sees, well, something is watching him in the darkness.
Yeah, as you journey onwards, you will sense auras, predatory auras everywhere. To your left, to your right, in front of you, behind you, you are surrounded. You literally feel like you're trapped in a sort of wooden coffin. The beast is starting to pop its head out for the second time tonight. It is telling you to run, it's telling you to flee, it's telling you to escape, to get out. And this will be a second frenzy test, but you do get 2+ to the dice roll because it's just a simple, easy frenzy test, and you're not hungry anymore. So it should be easier. So it's your composure plus resolve +1, because you're expecting trouble, but it's nothing.
It will be just 5 dice.
So it is 5 dice, yes. So yeah, you're fine. Your beast wants you to escape. It wants you to run, and it would have been a lot harder if you did have some, if you didn't have VT in your system at the moment. But you are fine. So yeah,
It is the man's logic that triumphs over the beast, and it is the man's eyes that question, why haven't they closed yet? If they have their prey, are they just observing us? Are they trying to lure us into a trap? Like, why have they not began more actively pursuing us? And that's what goes through his mind as he looks out into the darkness.
I'm
Sorry.
just driving. I don't sense anything.
Okay. No, yeah. Unfortunately, Blue, a simple mortal does not sense these things. But I would still describe, perhaps Blue, you would notice Ben, the person in the back seat acting slightly odd, perhaps staring from left to right, and even behind and in front of him in a very animalistic way. The beast still pops out, but this will go on till the point where you reach Mersea. And yes, these eyes will be following you the whole way.
All right. as the forest sort of gives way to the dark, moonless night of the countryside, the dayside. The smell of the salty sea begins to come in through the air conditioning vents in the car. Just a few miles more, the eyes are still upon him, still upon his charge, but they're at a distance. It appears this Reverend Draper was correct. He's not exactly sure why they have moved for the kill, but it seems that this may have been their only window of opportunity, and he fully intends to make use of that. Although, when they get to the Strode, his heart begins to sink a little, for the road to Mersea appears to be shut off. I assume at the sight of a flooded bridge, the car slowly comes to a stop, and Samuel gets out first before giving the okay that he's alright to exit. The two begin to approach what appears to be flooded roadway, inaccessible by car, potentially accessible by those who are willing to swim across. As Samuel approaches, though, something catches his eye. The beast catches it first. But then his eyes go towards, I believe it is the ground or maybe a sign. What is going through Grace's mind? Well, her guide seems to be examining just the entranceway towards the bridge.
She actually wouldn't get out of the car unless you bade her to, so she would just stay, the car's slowed down, she's parked, she's left the engine running until you give the all clear to turn it completely off. She's noticed that you're on edge. How can she not? And was very tempted for a very long time to just break the monotony of your paranoia almost, with a bit of philosophy, because that's what she does. However, she doesn't know you well enough yet and doesn't know how you'd react, so she again erred on the side of caution and just thought it best to be quiet. Be quiet and just keep doing your duty. That way you can't say anything untoward. She sees you getting out, and she sees the the examination that you're doing of the bridge and the street and the causeway and all the rest of it. Still, that ever-present prickling at the back of your head, the beast being on edge, and closes her eyes, places a demure look back on her face, and awaits instructions. For surely, you big strong man, you know what you're doing.
Right, and what does Samuel find as he examines the entryway to Mersea?
I'm going to make this a roll because I believe there's always a chance you may not find it, and there's a chance that things can go tits up. So we'll say this would be a wits plus occult roll. But minus due to darkness, that's -2 because of the strange area as well. We'll say -3 dice. And each success will speed up the process of searching because the sun will be rising at some point.
Right. Well, this is going to be just one dice. Then,
Oh,
oh dear. Ah, no.
okay. So unfortunately,
Would an aspect roll with the proper cost be able to help in this?
yep, that's fine. You will start to get hungry again, but we'll say I don't think what's hunger. What's your blood vitae? Is it 4 or 5 at the moment?
It's going to go down to 4.
4 is a hunger test, so you might have to do another hunger test. It's not a -2 it though or anything. So a lot of frenzy tests tonight. Anyway, so you spend a few hours looking, you're searching the coastal area. You turn rocks up. You seem to be sniffing, trying to find something, trying to look for something. Blue, your PC will be noticing this, will see this as
If
you're
he,
quite
yeah,
desperate. But gradually, you will start to see the glimmers of sunlight emerging from behind the island. We'll say as if dawn is approaching.
I will just say if he spends more than 20 minutes looking around, looking lost, then Grace will get out of the car and again, just say, how can I help you? How can I serve you?
This doesn't make any sense. Through blood. Supposed to swim across? The Crown can't risk you, like, getting sick on the intro into the island. This doesn't make any sense. Why would they invite us here if the pathway is going to be shut off? Looking, is there some sort of like alternate entrance? Is there like some sort of canoe nearby that they're supposed to take? And then finally he'll just seeing the sun, the beast, warning him again. Like he said, but they need to get to shelter like now. So he's going to have to risk hunger again, and he will spend the blood. Just all beast again, just try to find like where am I supposed to go?
Can I look for something as well, whatever we're looking for?
Yes, no, you can assist. I must admit, Auspex, unfortunately, the type of Auspex you're using is level 3. You've only got the level 1, which allows you to detect dangers or weaknesses. So I don't think that applies to this. So you might have to make another roll or desperately try to swim across. But, Blue, as you're there, you may assist him. So this can help.
I thought the next one could at least also be used to find a clue.
Sorry, what was that, Ben?
I thought that it could also be used to find a clue.
Auspex 1 is basically to be able to detect if dangers or weaknesses.
Right.
So, but the idea is the level 3 ability allows you to discover sort of secrets about a place or an area.
Okay.
Level 2 allows you to discover secrets about a person.
In that case, we're going to be spending a different type of point. He is going to see willpower into this next roll.
Okay. But I'm happy it's the same role, wits and occult. But yes, if you want plus willpower and Blue, if you want to add your wits as well to the dice roll to help.
Wits is 2.
Okay. But you no longer minusing 2 because it's sort of somewhat sunlight. There we go. So you do spot something.
Oh, damn.
Look at the big handsome man, not letting us die.
So you're fine, Blue. It's just him, I'm afraid. It's a bit.
Once that sun's up, I won't be fine.
Yeah, that's true.
This is all done.
So describe that it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. It takes you ages, but just madly, I would say, Blue, your PC as she.
I would
helps.
actually probably, while he's being so frantic and looking under rocks and, just looking in places that he's already looked twice, I think Grace would actually just walk up to him and just get his attention, even just like pop her hands gently on his shoulders and say, "Stop. What are you looking for?"
Some sort of clue. Like, the elder wouldn't have sent me to deliver you to this island if there wasn't some way across that wouldn't put your life in danger. There must be something that I've missed. Some sort of instruction that was left out.
As she holds your shoulders, let's say her back is just towards the island, and the sunbeams are kind of just gently kind of glowing as if a flame is appearing behind the island. You just spot a stone behind Blue's PC's shoulder. It's just there, and it seems to have a line going down this tall stone, as if it's pointing. You realise, it's been carved. It's pointing down, and you may push her aside to make you go to the stone. In either case, you find a image. You see this sort of pool, this kind of carved image at the bottom of this stone, and it seems to lead towards the sea. It seems to pour itself into the sea, this carved image. It's all intricately designed in these markings and occult symbols that you need some time to study.
Is still approach the rock and just zesty further. Perhaps be an interesting moment for his dream vision there to cross.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
In that case, he will just sort of be brought back to him into his visions, to his half-remembered dreams about being pulled as the hateful light of the sun ever so slightly begins to peek over the horizon, his beast beginning to panic, himself beginning to panic. He might remember that fear of being drawn by this tide as London begins to burn. Then he remembers blood in the water, a whisper, something deep down from inside of himself, a toll that must be paid in order to enter the island. And the great creature beckons him. Seeing that, he will almost instinctively begin moving towards the flooded pathway. And then you will see him, he withdraws a pocket knife and then ever so slightly cut into the palm of his hand at will, the vitae pool there and just let it go into the water. And then as there falls droplets, staining the Black Sea red for just a moment, he'll kneel down and whisper something. I believe you can roll to hear this.
Roll me up, baby. What am I rolling?
Hit the roll. Is with composure?
Yeah, with plus composure minus your I don't know. We'll say minus 2 because it's not super quiet, but it's...
No, 3 dice summon then, please.
Your dice. Oh,
Oh, she just does.
Yep.
right. In that case, you will hear Simon whisper. Oh, sorry, this is going to be good. Give me a second.
No, I'll if you want some time to think, I will carry on to sing that. Yes, as you pour the vitae into this sacrificial altar, the blood will drip, and yes, as if it's magnetized, as if it sort of clings to the rims. It spins in a circle. It kind of reveals this complicated and magnificently carved imagery as it slides down this sort of stone into the water, where the tide is just brushing the blood away into the sea. And I would actually describe that a sort of mist starts to appear from the water, from the sea, as if some sort of chemical reaction is taking place, and this small kind of mist is just hovering around the altar. I did have an image, I might put that up.
In that case, Blue, you will hear Simon whisper. My sire came back to me only once and asked me to join him. I said no, but in my darkest hours, I regretted this. Regretted the weight of my decisions about not knowing who created me. I fear that may have led to more suffering those I held dear, as I devoted myself to the path I had chosen.
Oh, her heart bleeds for you.
All right, and
I say
then
that I say that in a sarcastic tone, but she is actually quite humane.
Oh,
he'll get up at that and turn and say, "There is a toll to enter this island. This is going to sound insane, but you need to relinquish Vitae onto the stone, and then whisper either a secret or a deep regret, something that haunts you into the ocean. It's the only way to make the path appear." Oh, really?
She just sort of
Never mind.
sorry,
uh,
we have to rewind that last statement as
yeah.
this only applies to kindred. Ghouls, you may walk upon the island freely. No cost there.
He merely says to himself the answer. It's like, I just had to spend close to the ocean and relinquish one of my secrets. He says that more to himself than to anyone in particular, and upon realizing that you're still standing there, will sort of stop and then look back as from the water, but also from the distance, a fog sort of rolls in through the rocks, and it gets thicker and thicker and thicker until the point where the burning light of the sun almost gets completely blocked out. As you can barely see in front of you, Simon can barely see in front of himself, but
As this fog kind of emerges and clouds of your vision, Ben, if you'd just like to make a chance dice, because there's always a chance for these things to happen. Don't
nope.
roll a 10. Oh, thank God. Okay, so yes, this fog emerges, and then it kind of disappears and dissipates. And as it does this, the crossway is clear. The tide has gone back. The tide seems to have gone back and lowered itself quite quickly. You didn't hear any water move. You didn't hear any sort of sounds of waves. It just seems to, the path is now clear for you to continue your journey onto Mersea Island. And I think with that we'll go with your characters and final thoughts as you reach the sanctuary of the church.
Simon will say, I'll drive the rest of the way as the address, but I'm going to have to apologize. We are going to be in a bit of a hurry right now. You understand what I mean?
Grace just nods and at your leisure. Uh, but sort of just thinks to herself, please don't get a speeding ticket on top of all of this. Please just don't. She will have seen the ritual that you did, and she's obviously heard your words and understood that there is a toll to be paid and all the rest of it. So if there is a moment, I'm just going to say there is a moment, where she can just, as you're getting out of the car, nearly, just having gotten to safety, she says, I understand that you paid a toll to let me on as well. Does that mean that I'm in your debt?
He'll nod and he'll say, my faith makes me used to having to confess to those who are more powerful than I. Don't exactly know who this was paid to, but at the end of the day, or at the end of the night, should I say, it doesn't matter so long as we're still there to exist.
And she'll just nod her head and say, very well, I understand you. Thank you for your company. Then gesture to the church and just say, shall we?
And with that, they'll just beeline across the bridge as they are now perhaps playing chicken with the sun.
Oh no, there's enough time. It's just a few more hours, and yes, it would have been full sun up. But you just sort of get to the church in time before the sun fully rises on the sea coast. And you both reach the church. Any other thoughts, or we will end soon?
Well, the only thoughts that would go through Samuel is that upon paying the toll, upon getting to the island, he feels a sort of weight being lifted, but not necessarily a weight from stress. It's a tiny bit disturbing, as though perhaps having your ears popped. It's more of an adjustment, but in that moment he may believe that he will receive no more visions while on the island. But whatever path had led him here, well, he's here now and must deal with the consequences of the doing. But his charge has arrived safely, so at the very least, the true Bishop of London will have an ally in her Dominator for the nights to come. So at the very least, he did one good thing for his congregation. And at the very least, if the toll ever does come back to haunt him, it will haunt him exclusively, for it was his decision to remain who he was, rather than see the true design behind his creation, the hands of that terrible, terrible creature that embraced so long. That's where we'll leave Brother Simon.
As far as Grace goes, oh, just stares longingly at the sun for a moment. Um, Brother Samuel or whoever he is will have probably made a beeline inside into the church, into the those grand double doors that block the sun out, that horrible, horrible sun. But she takes a moment. I'm sorry.
No, no, carry on.
Oh, I was, yes, yes, 1,000 times yes, that's exactly what he did.
She, however, acts quite differently, as you might expect. She will actually take a step around the church to where the sun is actually coming up and take a moment just to feel the heat of the sun on her face, probably even watch the clouds, just take a moment to adore the colors and the spectacle that's unfolding in front of her, just take a deep breath of the salty sea air and just witness the dew on the grass being like crystals and then being blown away by the winds that touch it and the sun then melting it away into almost a fog, and just witnesses the spectacle and the beauty of it all more than anything else, fixes it in her mind, and finally takes a deep, deep, long sigh, just clears her lungs of the air of London and takes a deep breath of this new freshness. And she may not feel the same as any kindred does, but she absorbs where she is and sort of assimilates her environment in a way that is quite unique to the way that she's been taught, the way that she's been trained. She's an observer. She's always meant to be an observer. And so she takes it in, the sights, the sounds, the smells, even bends down and touches the ground, feels it in her fingers so that she can better report on it if required to. Um, then, as she pulls her hands back towards herself, well, have her gaze fall upon a ring on her finger, and then take out a necklace and begin to twiddle with a pendant. And all the beauty and all the marvel of even the most spectacular dawn I would trade to be in your presence again. And she longs, she yearns, and then tucks the pendant away, fixes a stern look back on her face, not stern, a neutral look on her face, and perhaps even an up tilt of the mouth, because that's who she is. That's the mask she has to show everyone. And with as much grace as she can, enters the church, does as is expected, and waits her turn.
And with that, we will happily end scene on our two travellers to this island, this Mersea island, with the sun rising on the small town and the taste and smell of salt all around them. And the sort of scary and predatory eyes that followed them all the way here. Not feeling hunger, not feeling rage, but pity for these poor creatures that have walked upon the island. With that, we will end scene. Thank you for watching, folks.